is Russ. You know, they say, oh, let Russ cook. Let Russ cook. They let Russ cook on Christmas, and he burned the goddamn meal. And everybody went hungry.
We have breaking news.
Nathaniel Hackett has been fired.
Damn.
Looks like Christmas came a day late for Broncos country. Let's ride. Today on Sports Done Right, we say goodbye to two NFL legends. The legendarily great defensive end J.J. Watt and the legendarily awful head coach Nathaniel Hackett, who just could not hack it as a head coach. I'm sorry, I know it's a cheesy line, but I had to say it. It was right there. Along with the retirement of J.J. Watt and the firing of Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett, we'll discuss Brock Purdy's chances of winning Rookie of the Year and welcome back Jameson Williams to the football field, who finally made his rookie debut after tearing his ACL in his final collegiate game at Alabama. And then we'll give you the offensive and defensive players of the week over the last 3 weeks, since we haven't been able to do a show on the channel here lately. My apologies for that. But first, getting right into J.J. Watt, who announced on Twitter that his son, Koa's first ever NFL game would be his last ever NFL home game. J.J. Watt says, "My heart is filled with nothing but love and gratitude. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege." This effectively announced the retirement of the NFL legend, who will no doubt be a first ballot Hall of Famer when the time comes. J.J. Watt was born in Pewaukee, Wisconsin on March 22nd, 1989. Watt, a two-star tight end prospect, received a scholarship from Central Michigan. After recording only 8 catches for 77 yards in Butch Jones' offense, Watt transferred to Wisconsin as a walk-on and moved to defensive end. Watt recorded 11.5 sacks in 26 games at Wisconsin. The Houston Texans drafted him 11th overall in the absolutely stacked 2011 NFL Draft. Watt had his struggles as a rookie, but in 2012, Watt recorded 20.5 sacks, winning his first Defensive Player of the Year award. In 2014, Watt had one of the best seasons an NFL player has ever played. He returned an interception 80 yards for a touchdown, recovered 5 fumbles, returned them back 59 yards, and one of them for a touchdown. He forced 4 fumbles, recorded a safety, 78 tackles, and 51 QB hits, a career high. He also recorded 20.5 sacks, making him the only player to record multiple seasons of 20 or more sacks. Watt even lined up at tight end and caught 3 receiving touchdowns, giving him 5 total touchdowns on the season. Watt came in second place in MVP voting, which is an absolute miscarriage of justice. Watt did win Defensive Player of the Year, though, and was voted by the players as the #1 player in the league. He followed up his amazing 2014 season with the league-leading 17.5 sacks in 2015, winning his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award. J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, and Lawrence Taylor are the only 3 players to ever win 3 Defensive Player of the Years. Watt also has a place on the Hall of Fame All-2010s team. He retires with 5 Pro Bowls and 5 first-team All-Pros, along with his unprecedented 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He currently has 111.5 career sacks. He has 9.5 on the season. If he gets just half a sack in the next 2 games, then he'll go out on double-digit sack season, which would be his 6th of his career. And there would be no more fitting way for the legend to end his career. I mean, other than a Super Bowl, but that's just not going to happen in Arizona. Not this year, not in the next few years, probably. But if he gets just half a sack and goes out on a double-digit sack season, that would be a great swan song year for J.J. Watt. Before we really get into talking about Nathaniel Hackett, me and my brother talked about Nathaniel Hackett earlier this year and how bad the Broncos looked, and we thought that the early struggles could be foreboding of what was to come. But Hey, even we couldn't have predicted that it would go this badly. Nathaniel Hackett can't hack it in the NFL as a head coach. You think it's just a smokescreen, or you think there's some truth to that statement?
I definitely think there's some truth.
Really? Do tell.
There's so many spots in these games where they can easily pull away, but that offense just looks like a train wreck. I mean, I don't know what I'm watching.
Nathaniel Hackett's biggest weakness so far has been time management. It has been appalling. And anyone that watched the Monday Night Manning live stream witnessed Peyton Manning call timeout 67 times. Let's think about this. Get a timeout. Call timeout like right now. We need a timeout right now. We need a timeout right now. Let's talk. Don't you want to talk about it? Don't you want to talk about it? He ran the clock all the way down.
Not even a Denver fan, and I was feeling for him.
Trotted out Brandon McManus to kick a field goal that he has never made before in his career. And honestly, I felt that the Broncos were a bit overhyped going into the season. I mean, I feel like people put them on a pedestal just because they brought in Russell Wilson. Denver Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett after a 4-11 start to the season. They fired him on December 26th, the day after Christmas and the day after a Week 17 loss. It has been a very, very ugly tenure for Hackett in Denver. In fact, it's been so bad that in the last 40 years, only 2 head coaches have been fired without making it through a single NFL season. And that's Urban Meyer last year and Nathaniel Hackett this year. Urban lasted 13 games. Nathaniel Hackett outlasted him by making it through 15 games without getting pink slipped and future endeavored. But the mind-boggling thing is that this has only happened twice in the last 40 years. Now, Petrino famously lasted only 1 year as the Falcons head coach, but Petrino wasn't fired. Petrino quit. So he doesn't count. But it's been so ugly in Denver. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett was supposed to be this offensive guru, this genius. He was going to take one of the top quarterbacks in the league and lead this team to the promised land. He took one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL and made him look like Deshaun Kaiser. Of course, if you look at this quote here, what the F was I supposed to do? It's hard to coach a guy who has more bathrooms in his house than touchdown passes this year. Oh, shots fired. But you know what? That's the truth. Let's look at Russell Wilson, who was supposed to be the big investment, who was supposed to be the savior for Denver. Russell Wilson, as a rookie, had a quarterback rating of 72.7. This year, Russell Wilson has a quarterback rating of 35.1. That is as night and day as it gets. I mean, Wilson looks like Deshaun Kaiser. Wilson looks like Sam Darnold. Wilson looks like Nathan Peterman. I mean, he doesn't look like Russell Wilson. Matter of fact, he doesn't look like he could beat out Blake Bortles for the starting job in Denver right now. By the way, Nathaniel Hackett coached Blake Bortles. Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars from 2017 to 2019. Or from 2016 to 2018. During his 3 years as offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and by the way, I thought he did pretty good as offensive coordinator here. Certainly, I liked him better than the guys that they continued to replace him with. I mean, when they fired Hackett, they replaced him with DiFilippo, who I was never crazy about that hire, and then they fired him and brought in Jay Gruden, who I thought would be better than DiFilippo, but still wasn't real happy with that hiring. Nathaniel Hackett in his 3 years in Jacksonville, his offenses ranked 27th, 19th, and 28th in points scored. Now, the year that they ranked 19th was 2017. That was the year that the Jaguars went 10-6 and made it all the way down to the AFC Championship. They did that with Blake Bortles at quarterback. Now you have Russell Wilson at quarterback, and it all goes to shit. What's happening here? Then in 3 years in Green Bay, Nathaniel Hackett. Offense is ranked 15th, 1st, and 10th in points scored. And by the way, in 2017 with the Jags, the Nathaniel Hackett's offense, they had the #1 rushing attack in the league. They had the most rushing yards out of all teams in the NFL, thanks to Leonard Fournette. But in Green Bay, Nathaniel Hackett really started to develop this reputation as an offensive mastermind, largely thanks to the help of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers liked him. Aaron Rodgers would praise Nathaniel Hackett every chance he got. He spoke glowingly about Nathaniel Hackett, and it really had nothing to do with Nathaniel Hackett's football IQ. Nathaniel Hackett was a good guy to have in the locker room. He made Aaron laugh. He entertained Aaron. He got into these deep intellectual conversations with Aaron that Aaron likes to have. Aaron Rodgers probably thinks of himself as the smartest person in the room anytime he's in a room. And Nathaniel Hackett kind of challenged that. So getting in good with Aaron gave Nathaniel Hackett a golden ticket to anywhere he wanted to go, basically, as a head coach. You've got a recommendation from Aaron Rodgers. Denver had to. Everyone says this, and there's no way that they just thought that he was going to be the guy. They had to get Nathaniel Hackett thinking that Hackett was the key to them getting Aaron Rodgers before Aaron Rodgers re-signed with Green Bay. But then they already had Hackett. They already had the carrot on the stick. So they brought in Russell Wilson instead. And they thought that Wilson and Hackett would have the same relationship that Hackett had with Rodgers, and it has not been the same relationship. It has been absolutely awful, abysmal. It has blown up in every way, shape, and form. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. It has been an absolute train wreck. The train burst into flames, came off the track, everybody died. End of story. So with that being said, the Denver Broncos, they're 4-11. They have the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. And they've got nothing to play for, nothing to tank for. I mean, you can't make the playoffs, and you can't tank for a high draft pick because you don't have any first-round picks because you traded the farm to get Russell Wilson. They have nothing to play for except probably pride, if they still have that. It has been absolutely abysmal. As bad as I thought the Atlanta Falcons were going to be this year, that's how bad the Denver Broncos have been this year. You got everyone seems to hate the starting quarterback. You got fights breaking out on the sidelines. You've got just receivers throwing temper tantrums live in front of hundreds of thousands of people in the stadium. You've got millions of people watching on TV, seeing, photographing, and memeing your receivers just jumping up and down in frustration, banging their helmets against the ground because Russell Wilson doesn't see them, can't get them the ball. He has been abysmal in this offense. And the best thing they can do is try to start fresh next year. Question is, who do they hire? Who do they bring in? Me personally, I would like to see what Kellen Moore could do as head coach of the Denver Broncos, but I don't think that would necessarily be the right direction to go. But we'll see how this Denver situation unfolds. But it's just mind-bogglingly pitiful. It is. Like I said, it was a train wreck, train burst into flames, came off the track, everybody died. There were no survivors. Now let's talk about Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant is the title given to the last player taken each year in the NFL draft. This year, Brock Purdy earned the title of Mr. Irrelevant when the San Francisco 49ers selected him 262nd overall out of Iowa State. He only took one snap in Week 5. In week 7, he went 4 of 9 for 66 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception in a garbage time loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. The 49ers lost that game 44-23. Then, after Jimmy Garoppolo got injured against the Miami Dolphins, Purdy stepped in. He was 25 of 37, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He made his first career start in Week 14 against Tampa Bay and their legendary quarterback, Tom Brady. Here's the kicker. Brock Purdy is 22 years of age. Tom Brady has been playing in the NFL for 23 years. Tom Brady has literally been playing in the NFL longer than Brock Purdy has been alive. George Blanda is the oldest player to ever play in the NFL at 48, but he didn't start at quarterback after the age of 41. Tom Brady, 45, still a week in, week out starter. It's insane. It is absolutely inhuman. But Brock Purdy became the first quarterback to ever beat Tom Brady in his first career start. 16 of 21, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 134, and a rushing touchdown as San Francisco demolished Tampa Bay 35-7. No quarterback who had ever made their first career start against Tom Brady was ever victorious. If your first game ever as a starter is against Tom Brady, you're 88 and out the gate. It's over before it even starts. That's how it had always been until now. And what a feather in the hat of Brock Purdy. But not only did he defeat the greatest quarterback of all time in his first ever start at quarterback, in his second career start, the 49ers played against the Seattle Seahawks and Super Bowl winning head coach Pete Carroll. And San Francisco again was victorious. This was Thursday night. So his first career start beats a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Second career start beats a Super Bowl winning head coach. Nobody has ever done that in the history of the NFL. Now I want to hit the brakes just a little because I believe in Brock Purdy. I remember watching him at Iowa State and thinking, this guy's too good to be playing for Iowa State. Brock Purdy has all the tools to be, at the very least, a solid number 2 option in the NFL. But just to hit the brakes just a little on the hype train, because this is the San Francisco 49ers we're talking about, and any quarterback with 2 arms and 2 legs is going to be successful in Kyle Shanahan's offense. That's just a fact. It is. If you got 2 arms and 2 legs, you'll be fine. You could probably even still trot Matt Corral out there on 1 leg, and he'll look like Brock Purdy. Just saying. That's why I was so intrigued when Baker Mayfield hit the waiver wire. I was so intrigued to see if the 49ers would get a chance to claim him. It wasn't going to happen. They were way too far down the pecking order. And evidently, I don't think they were even interested. But it would have been interesting to see Baker Mayfield in San Francisco. I would have loved to have seen that. Instead, they went and they grabbed Josh Johnson. Now, I'll take Baker Mayfield over Josh Johnson any day. But they got Josh Johnson as their 4th quarterback, their 4th stringer, who's now currently 2nd string because Garoppolo and Trey Lance are injured. It would have been very interesting to see Baker Mayfield in this offense, though. Now, everything worked out for Baker. He went to L.A., immediately became best friends with Vince Corona, apparently, and had that amazing 98-yard game-winning drive on 2 days' notice. Barely even knew the playbook. So it worked out for Baker. But I would have been very intrigued to see him go to San Francisco in this offense, in the spot that Brock Purdy is in. But I think everyone is in the best position for them currently. Now, Rich Eisen posed an interesting question, or rather his son did, so let's take a look at that.
can he be Rookie of the Year? And I thought to myself, there's no rules against how many games you have to start, right? Well, what if Brock Purdy wins out? And it's already Purdy mania right now.
It is Purdy mania.
It's Purdy mania, like to the point where, I mean, we even used it moments ago on our graphics. We went curb your enthusiasm. Purdy good, you know.
I like it.
But the puns are already like, you know, when every single update person is now like, this is a Purdy good throw. Boy, everything's looking Purdy in Stanford. Like, we get it. It could be you could. The puns are already off the charts.
I think we
We're in
coined Brock
Purdy
Purdy
mania.
to me after Trey Lance broke his ankle.
Brock Purdy.
Remember, that was weeks ago.
So here we go. The fewest starts by a quarterback who won Offensive Rookie of the Year, 12. Buffalo's Dennis Shaw in 1970. What? Hold on a minute. He set an NFL rookie record with 2,507 passing yards. However, and with 10 touchdowns. However, he threw 20 interceptions and was 3-8-1 that season and won it.
20 picks.
That's the fewest number. Vince Young and Ben Roethlisberger, when they won Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, obviously, they started 13 games. Alvin Kamara had the fewest for a non-quarterback, just 3 starts, but he played in all 16 when Ingram was starting.
Awesome.
Tony Dorsett had 4 starts in 77. Miami's Troy Stratford had just 5 starts in the strike-shortened 87 year. They're the only players to start 5 or fewer games and win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Now we talk about the triumphant return of Jameson Williams. Williams played for Ohio State for 2 years before transferring to Alabama. In 2021, Williams caught 79 passes for 1,572 yards, 15 touchdowns, averaging 19.9 yards per catch. That is insane to average nearly 20 yards a pop when you're getting almost 80 passes. Now, unfortunately, he tore his ACL in the college football playoffs against Georgia. That year, Alabama's offense consisted of Heisman QB Bryce Young throwing it to Williams or throwing it to Mechie. That's it. That was the offense. Sometimes they'd give it off to Brian Robinson, but it was mostly these guys. Now, Williams would be drafted 12th overall by the Detroit Lions. The torn ACL did not deter them at all. He played 8 snaps versus Jacksonville in Week 13. But Week 14, Williams made his first ever career catch, which he took 41 yards to the house for a touchdown. It's very heartwarming to see Jameson Williams back on the field, catching passes, and the fact that his first catch went for a touchdown. That is fantastic. That's a great comeback story right there. And Williams, he was just it's such an amazing talent at wide receiver. Like, it's a shame that the Lions haven't had him on the field until now. But it's great to see him back. Great to see him bouncing back from this devastating injury. Now we move on to the Offensive Player of the Week. It is Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, 30 of 42, 368 yards, and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions against the Tennessee Titans. Lawrence, in the last 5 games, has 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. His passer rating is 121.9 against Tennessee. He is at the top of his game. He had a rushing touchdown. Very amazing, heroic rushing touchdown against the Titans. And Lawrence finally seems to have shaken off that Urban Meyer stank and is looking like the generational talent that everyone pegged him to be. Our Defensive Player of the Week is Brandon Graham. Starting to look like you have to reach a sack quota to win Defensive Player of the Week around here. Brandon Graham, 4 tackles, 3 sacks. The Eagles defeated their hated rivals, the New York Giants, and they are now 12-1. 12-1. That is absurd. For Week 15, once again, it's Trevor Lawrence taking home Offensive Player of the Week in back-to-back weeks. He went 27 of 42 for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 109 in a heroic victory over the Dallas Cowboys. A division clinching victory over the Dallas Cowboys. And for Defensive Player of the Week, again, it's another Jaguar. It's Rayshawn Jenkins with 18 tackles, 2 interceptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. He was an absolute man-possessed, house on fire. He recorded the game-winning interception in overtime that clinched the victory for the Jaguars over the Cowboys. It was an amazing performance. Rayshawn Jenkins was all over the field. There's not been a more deserving Defensive Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, any kind of Player of the Week all year. No one has deserved this honor more than Rayshawn Jenkins in Week 15. Now for Week 16, it's Joe Burrow, who completed 40 of 52 passes for 375 yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions, had a passer rating of 99.4, and ranks second in passing yards and passing touchdowns on the season. Defensive Player of the Week goes to Nick Bosa with 7 tackles and 2 sacks. San Francisco 49ers have their division on lock. And that concludes this week's episode of Sports Done Right. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Accounts are down below, and you can subscribe to the channel for more. Like the video, share the video, comment on the video, anything, any kind of interaction whatsoever greatly helps with the algorithm. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.